Good morning! Welcome to the Medicare Cafe, where the points don't matter. Anybody else got a Who's Line? How's it go? Where everything's made up, the points don't matter.
That's Drew Carey's intro line.
Yeah, it's a Whose Line Is It Anyways? Welcome to Whose Line Is It Anyways, where everything's made up and the points don't matter. We're like an improv show, but for Medicare. It's kind of the worst kind of show. The only thing that would be worse is if we were mimes for Medicare. We did used to work with an agent that was a magician for Medicare.
Ooh,
do you remember
that?
Yeah, that was really cool.
Like an event is also a magic show.
Doves and applications everywhere. We digress. I don't know that you can digress when you start so poorly.
Which brings me to my next point.
Welcome back to the Medicare Cafe. You are joined today by your hosts. My name is Olivia Richardson.
And I'm Clayton Clemens.
We're excited today.
Awesome head move.
Thank you. We're excited today to talk to you guys a little bit more about a part two. Oh, the delay.
I was watching
the delay. We're here
to
to watch a little bit of part two today. We're going to talk about finding balance. We're going to talk about how to pick the right type of carrier. I know you guys as insurance agents get calls from organizations, including our own, saying, hey guys, there's a new med sup, a new cancer insurance, a new short-term care plan, a new final expense that is the next best thing. And we get those calls. We get those calls all the time. We're like, oh, yeah, we know.
yeah, we're aware.
We're familiar. We're aware of it. But today I'm actually really excited to have this conversation because I will tell you right now, we say specifically in Missouri, but we have agents in all 50 states. Right now, there is almost too much opportunity. Mm-hmm. There are so many new carriers. There are so many new carriers coming out with new product. There's so many a bad rash. There's so many just things and shiny things coming at you, especially going towards a time where there is no time. AEP is crazy. Do not introduce anything new between October 1st and December 7th. So now's the time to actually start investing in new companies. But there's so many out there. And the more time that you're spending doing paperwork and contracting, the less time you're spending with your clients and building your book of business. But you still have to do the admin stuff. You still have to get those contracts. So there is a balance, which is what Clayton was trying to say here, finding balance.
So super important because, you could look at line by line of all these different brochures and say, what's have the best benefits? Which ones have the best rates? But that's not going to be the only factor that you need to take into play whenever you're picking that carrier.
There's no coffee in there.
Oh, no.
Believe it or not, I am actually under caffeinated. I'm very hyper right now. It's survival. It was pre-AEP, folks. We're all crazy right now. Go ahead. You had a thing.
Well, I have water. I don't have coffee. But I drank a lot of energy drink this morning already.
That is
a
silly move.
No, we're fine. But, okay, so not only looking at benefits and rates as the only deciding factor, you have to also balance that with the ease of doing business with that company, or looking at different things like how easy is it to do their e-app? Is it going to be something that's going to have a bonus for me, pay me a little bit more? Different outside factors to look at outside of just the benefits and rates and stuff.
Exactly. Great. And you're actually talking to the right person. Clayton actually got his start with us working with our outreach team. Yeah. And their whole job is portfolio management. That's something that I really pride senior marketing specialists with, is that you'll hear us say, if you already have this contract elsewhere, you really don't need this additional product. It's not, so we're really unbiased when it comes to this, and we want to do what's best for you. Even if that product's not through us, we'll let you know, but that product is actually the one that you're going to want to write.
One of my favorites has always been hey, that's a really good product. I'm glad you have that one. This would be a backup though. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't be taking place of that. And I don't want to ever oversell no, this plan is way better. It's not. It'd be all right.
And to be clear, I haven't seen the slides today. This is the first time in actual years that I've gone in the Medicare Cafe without seeing or making the slides. So I'm excited.
I'm terrified.
Okay. What do you have planned for us? What's the next thing we're going to talk about?
The next thing we're going to talk about is the ease of doing business.
Oh, I love that.
So one of the main factors that I would look at is a lot of times we're do they have an e-app? Which almost every single carrier does. But it's kind of looking at that being the baseline. Mm-hmm. Do they even have an e-application?
Yeah, and I feel ease of using the application. Not all e-apps are created equal.
That's very fair.
So like one that like I love, like a Mutual, I'll call them by name because like you can just tie in the dental plan with their other, or like Aetna. Aetna has one of the best e-apps in the industry because they have short-term care, home health care, cancer insurance, a hospital indemnity plan, dental, vision, hearing, and their meds up. And it's literally just like adding to a shopping cart. It does like
it
the
literally
sales.
says add to cart.
Yeah. Oh, nice. It does the sales for you, kind of like the Amazon approach.
Yeah. And looking at that, but like also for our agents that either are more rural areas where internet might be a little hard to come by, making sure that they do have maybe an option for a paper application, or what happens if I don't have internet, to be thinking about that as part of your business of like, okay, well, I know I'm out in the boonies all the time. Am I not going to have access to this e-application?
Yeah.
So their perfect e-app doesn't do me any good.
It is kind of crazy. Not crazy. It's what every other industry is doing. Medicare and health just seems to be the slowest to it. But how many companies are coming out saying there is no paper option? It's e-app or bust.
It's quite a bit now,
Yeah.
especially like with their supplies and stuff like that. More people are going to that, which is understandable. But thinking about, does that work for you or not? If you're on one of those little maps when they're showing like the phone services and you're kind of completely in the gray there, you might want to make sure there's paper applications available.
Yeah. Do you like the cell phone service commercials when they're like not an actual representation of where we have coverage?
Yeah.
Like then why are you here?
What are we doing?
What are we doing here?
This is a cool map.
This is the cool map. It's a cool pink map.
Yeah.
T-Mobile. Looking at
They
you.
do have a cool pink map.
It's a nice map.
I think there was one other bullet point on there that you might have already covered. Yes, the easy to bundle with other products.
Same page.
So looking at those kind of things, on the ancillary side, I'll call out one with GTL being one that has all the different products built into theirs, where you can just kind of go down the list. So looking at that, especially if you're cross-selling, making sure that your carriers have that ease to do it.
Can we do an episode during AEP when people just need like a coffee break? And like it's interpretive dance, like kind of like you have to act out like charades,
Yes.
and I have to try to guess what you're trying to do.
I'm 1,000% in.
I'm like, I want this. I want this very badly.
If anyone from last week remembers our hand signals, or that was 2 weeks
That was
ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. Let's get into number 3. What you should ask about, what you should look at when it comes to picking up a new carrier. This is a great point.
Yeah.
So nice, they pay you twice.
Exactly. So looking at what kind of bonuses and incentives that they currently running or have done in the past, some carriers do them every single quarter. So wanting to make sure that, especially it makes sense for your type of business. So during AEP, if you're looking at that as far as like cross-selling, okay, cool. What hospital indemnity carrier is going to offer me a bonus during this time? Or looking at your med sub clients, like who has a good fourth quarter bonus that also has those good rates. So that's that finding that balance, because you're too busy and this is your job to not get paid for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if they're going to throw extra money at it, let them give it to you.
And there's a lot of money that you can do with that, especially if like admin team where you have downline agents. You can reinvest that into bonuses for your admin team. You can reinvest that into different lead costs. So yeah, it's nice to get that, but it's literally like, I think what we're seeing right now is that it's kind of becoming an industry standard that like med subs and other carriers, some of them are slower to it than others, but there's a lot that you can do. Sorry, the coffee. There's a lot that you can do.
Coffee.
Oh my God, I just miss it so much. The fond days of having a warm coffee. There's a lot that you can do with that income. And again, like I am somebody, like there's a lot of places that are actually coming out with like, do you want a trip, or do you want to, instead of taking the trip, do you just want the cash payout from that trip? United Healthcare is going to start implementing that going into this year as well. But like companies like, I know all the, we call them an integrity exclusives, but all of like Lumico, Ellipse, of the ACE products, even like the Aflac products, all of those are going to have Manhattan Life, Allstate, all of those are going to have a bonus tied to them somewhere, shape, or form.
The only point I'd add on to that is looking at your agency and your size, kind of knowing where your average numbers are to see if you're qualified for one or the other. So you can kind of think about that.
Because they don't do a great job of like telling you, like, hey, you're so close to this.
Right. And looking at just like, okay, well, I normally do 10, 15 apps a month. And this one might say like, well, to get this trip, you have to do 10,000. And you're like, well, I will never hit
maybe
that.
Maybe not. No.
Not 10,000.
That seems
That's a lot.
aggressive even.
I'll give you a trip for 10,000 apps.
I would gladly give you a trip for 10,000 apps.
The other thing to look at would be the carrier history. So looking at, especially for like med subs, looking at the rate increase history. do they have a rate increase history? What does it look like in the past? Because if they don't have one, you got to start thinking, okay, well, when is one hitting? Like, if the rates are the only reason you're picking that carrier,
Yeah.
you might say, like, well, if we add 5-10% on this, is it still even worth it?
Oh, that's a great point. Because that's the thing I'd say, like, when it comes to, like, your Medicare supplement options, when we go over, like, your portfolio review, we recommend that you have, like, 2 types of MedSups. You have to have the brand names, UHC, Anthem, Aetna, Humana, Mutual of Omaha. You have to have the big boys. But because people don't buy logically, they buy an emotion. They use logic to justify that. A lot of an emotion is trust in a brand, right? The other side of that, you are going to have your penny pinchers. Pinchers. And they're the ones that are going to be like, hey, Mike, I'm in a anniversary state. I'm in Missouri, Nevada, California, Illinois, whatever. Pick your Louisiana now. Maine, Chicago. Chicago's not a state. You are in one of those areas that have some sort of birthday rule or anniversary rule. Then maybe people are more apt to want to go the cheaper option. So you do kind of have to have those like get while the getting's good carriers as well.
Right.
So making sure that you can accommodate both of those. When it comes to the ancillary stuff, that one we always say don't shop carriers, shop benefits. So pick a carrier that fits exactly what we're talking about here, that fits your selling style, gives you the payment that you deserve, it has great customer service, has strong rates. Pick that carrier, and then like you're not going to shop which carrier does my client want for this cancer insurance. You're going to say they want a Bankers Fidelity cancer plan. Do they want, a $10,000 face amount, lump sum, or do they want a $25,000 face amount lump sum?
Right. And another thing to look at would be kind of the backing that they have to kind of try to gauge that stability a little bit.
I was still singing, but whatever.
Well, it was really good, and I wanted to not get overshadowed by your amazing singing.
That's fair. I get that. I get that a lot, actually.
So looking at different things like the kind of backing that they have. So looking at that AM Best rating is one way to do it. Looking at kind of who is putting their money behind them. So the carriers are coming up with like a B or B plus versus an A or A plus. Kind of looking at, well, how is that going to affect that stability in the market? Hard to predict, but that's just another factor to look at when you're going through these carriers.
And then also keep in mind too, like speaking of like their AM Best rating and things like that, if you are working with a financial organization, either you are yourself or you're working with financial planners, they cannot partner, they cannot work with B-rated carriers based on their E&O insurance they have to carry. So keep that in mind too, that maybe you want to stick with those A+ rated ones if you're working with those financial planners. Mary says, Illinois birthday rule is awful compared to other states. Mary, let me tell you, it's not a birthday rule. It's an internal
helpful
replacement. But I will tell you, Mary, in the long run, you're probably going to like that because Illinois rates will continue to stay low. If you look at Illinois rates versus Missouri rates are very high, even as a start, because there's a lot of unhealthy business that moves. So it's a good thing, Mary, for it's just maybe
just not as
in the long run.
Yeah.
It's a good thing in the long run for you. And then let's look at like number 5. Carrier backing and branding. I think we just did this one.
I think we did. Yes.
Yes.
I believe so.
So things to keep in mind. And again, going back to that carrier branding, aka be on the TV already.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Tell me about that buzzword. Will they be doing marketing on your behalf, aka be on the TV already? For some reason, I was like, why aren't you do this already?
So there's a couple carriers that come to mind with this.
Tell me.
When have you seen one of those commercials? It's like Chaos, and he's like in the car with them and wrecking the car and doing all this stuff.
Flow, it's Progressive, and the Chaos
Allstate.
Guy is Allstate. Yeah. I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, I'm just used to us being combative. I was just ready to go.
You're ready to fight me?
What? No. Anyway.
I mean, honestly, I deserve that. That's the reputation I've built for myself.
So, like, you instantly know, okay, that's Allstate. So Allstate's name is already out in the world for you. Or you see a duck on there and you're like, what's that duck doing? Why is he in a car?
What does that duck do?
What's that duck do? That duck be selling insurance for Aflac.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of what I meant with that point is like, what are names that people are already going to know because they're in front of them on the TV all the time?
Carries the weight of credibility. Even if they don't know you, the insurance agent, you don't come with any credibility because maybe you're building your brand. Maybe, they're not a referral, maybe they're a lead. If you have these strong names, again, Allstate, Aflac, Ace, if you have the UHCs, the Humanas, the Anthems, that can carry a lot of the burden of credibility,
Mhm.
so that even if they don't innately trust you, they trust that brand. And that is 100% worth the extra pieces of contracting to do that.
Yep. That's all we meant with that one. And then looking at stuff like what kind of marketing pieces are they giving you as the agent to be able to start offering more of their products out there. A lot of them on their carrier portals will have different marketing pieces. So that's something where whoever your outreach person is here or whoever your upline is that is trying to tell you about these contracts, ask about like what kind of pieces do they have for me?
Yeah.
Because if they don't have some, hopefully your upline does.
That's true. That's very true. Right now, like I said, I mentioned this earlier. This is a weird time. I feel this is the same soapbox I hop on for the last like 3 AEPs, at least the last 2 AEPs, where it's just like, this is a weird year. This is weird stuff going on. The hell is happening in our industry? We're at the point right now where there's almost too much opportunity
Right.
and not enough agents and not enough of a footprint. And we hear that from the carriers all the time. We're like, yeah, you want more, you want more, you want more. Now we're like seeing and feeling it and seeing where like people are being underserved. Carriers have too much opportunity and not enough. They don't have the agent footprint to accommodate where they're competitive. And it's like, wow, this is really strange. This is a new world that we're working in. And so right now, like for example, I talk about Missouri because we're here. There are 7 MedSup carriers right now that we are like, holy crap, if an agent doesn't have this, how are they going to stay in business? There are like 4 Medicare Advantage companies. 2 of them are ones that we've never even talked about before, or even had much to talk about, that we're like, I don't know how agents will stay in business without these companies.
Yeah.
And so it is really important. I know you guys are getting bombarded with phone calls. We're getting bombarded with phone calls of people saying like, hey, there's a new MedSup, there's a new Advantage plan, there's this new situation. It's time to actually start being like, either take those phone calls, and I hate because most of them are going to be from our competition, and I hate to tell you to do that, or just call us and be like, really, what do I need?
Right.
Because what you need right now is certainly different than what you needed at the beginning of this year. It's nuts. It's nuts.
It seems like every year there's like at least one big shakeup of these med sub carriers, and of course it has to happen right before AEP.
Always right before. Well, because everybody like wants to. What happens is that nobody wants to have a rate increase right before AEP, and then nobody wants to roll out product right before AEP. So everybody's getting the rate increases the first half of the year, and then they're rolling out product the second half, the third quarter only. And so everybody's competing with each other and competing for the attention. And a lot of people have done some significant moves to keep that attention.
Yeah.
So, including, again, some Medicare Advantage carriers that we're really excited about. One Medicare Advantage company came out with incredible, like, we kind of like, oh, they've been sleeping for the last few years. They woke up and they have the lowest max out of pockets. They have the best benefits. They have all this stuff. Well, then they had a public call. And on that public call with all their like stockholders and in the board of directors and everything, they're like, "We really overinvested. We're screwed this year. We this is gonna be a really bad year for us because we're gonna be so popular." So it's just like, you gotta know who you gotta have somebody who is not biased, who's gonna tell you like, yes, this is what we see. This is what we see in your area based on your sales styles, based on everything that you do. This is what we recommend.
Yeah, and that's also that kind of what other things do you need to look at other than just those product details?
Yeah.
Like, okay, is there any extra ancillary benefits on the MA product that are going to make it outshine the other one? Because they're all fighting to get to that first place spot.
They are all fighting to get to that first place spot. Clayton, you nailed it.
Well, thanks.
You nailed it. That is what we have today on this presentation with Medicare Cafe. Again, hopefully helping you guys understand that it is time to reevaluate what your portfolio looks like, mainly for the Medicare supplements and Medicare Advantage plans, but more important than ever for those ancillary products, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry is coming out with a new product, and they kind of just keep raising the bar, right? Kind of keep raising the bar based on commissions, raising the bar based on client experience and what they're seeing. So we had a carrier in here yesterday that was teaching us about their new short-term care policy, which looks really sharp. So it's really easy to get distracted by the new and shiny more times than not. Just stick with what you have and keep working hard. But right now it's like, let's make sure that you are set up to be successful this AEP.
For sure. I would also look at last week's episode that Carrie and I did talking about like things to look at with that product, because it was focused more on ancillary stuff. That'll kind of give you an outline of like what details to look at versus kind of these outside factors. So if you missed that one, Go back to our YouTube. Check
Go
it
back.
out.
You can look at all the stuff on the YouTube machine because that's where we are.
Too much.
On the
Too much on YouTube.
machine. No. We're not on YouTube too much.
Oh, no. Just I'm saying like in general. YouTube.
There's a lot on YouTube. I bet you could research how to do open heart surgery on YouTube. You know what's a funny thing right now? I want to a little bit. Okay. So there's like this trend going on right now that you ask women and you ask men and you find out like most of the times men typically tend to be incredibly overconfident. But there was this video about like you just go up and ask somebody, so you think if you were on the phone with airline control, with like airway control, do you think if the pilots, both of them had passed out, everybody's panicking, do you think you can land the plane?
Absolutely not.
You're the first man who ever raised his hand. Absolutely not. Every other person I talked to me like, if they're talking me through and stuff, yeah, I think I could land the plane. Land a freaking freight line.
Absolutely not.
No.
Like my hands are getting sweaty thinking about it.
Just putting yourself like hypothetically in that situation.
The hypothetical situation is too much for me. I will not be doing that.
That's fair.
Somebody else has to.
Mary asked, did I hear correctly that the PDP average in 2024 is going to be around $55 instead of $33? Hey, Mary, add about $10 to that. It's going to be right now they've come out with the PDP national average that the late enrollment penalty is based off of. It's around $65 this year. It was like $34 this year. So it is going to be, a lot of your people, your MedSet people who are balking at some costs this past year, having the Part D premium go up that much could be a major differentiator in seeing that your MedSet people either just say, you know what, I'm not taking any medications, just drop this Part D plan, or hey, it's time, let's start looking at some Medicare Advantage options. Not that I agree with that, but that's, it's a real thing that your clients, when their Part D is likely to double,
that's mostly tied to like because of the Inflation Reduction Act.
It's
right?
mainly because of the Inflation and Reduction Act. Several things. One, they're trying to here in the next year, they're going to start being able to only do a 3% rate increase on Part D premiums year after year, and so that's not in vogue yet.
So they're trying to get.
And so they're trying to get ahead of it now because when they're going to have to start with that max amount of pocket and other things like that, having that $2,200 max amount of pocket, they're really scared of that. So they're trying to recoup as much of that as they can today. So because starting next year, they won't be able to have these massive rate increases. Right. Sadie says, I get nervous when the flight attendants give me the emergency exit row rules. Yeah, I do take out my headphones for that speech.
I couldn't have that responsibility either. I'm okay eating a cracker and drinking some water on a plane. That's about all I'm good for.
That's about what you're good for? Honestly, that's fair.
Like last time I didn't even download anything to my phone and didn't have internet, so I ended up playing Pong on my phone for a while.
Okay, I was like, how did you get the whole plane to agree to beer pong? Different Pong.
Different Pong. It was on my phone.
Okay. Pretty cool though.
But I think I could convince a plane. I could do that easier than I could land the plane. Convince an entire plane to go play beer pong with me.
With your okay.
For sure. I could do that in a heartbeat.
Honestly,
that one I'm super overconfident
I feel like that's like much more important than flying the plane. There are two pilots, right? What are the odds that both
what are we going to
them...
do? Play beer pong with Clayton.
Done.
See?
Any other questions, comments, concerns, threats, or promises? I do have my handy dandy texting machine. Ooh, Terry says, had 2 new companies send me emails that said they wanted to pay me. Since I don't know them, why would I want to present them? Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how those companies work. They want to pay you for doing stuff.
Well,
but what's the benefits? What do they got going on?
And here's the thing, too. Like, we talk about this from the carrier perspective. You also need to think about this from the FMO perspective, especially right now. So many FMOs are saying, like, we are working with some right now. They're like, hey, like, we'll give you, $50,000 in marketing, $25,000 in marketing. You got to move everything to us. Well, if you read the fine print on that, what they're doing is they're actually advancing your own commissions for like 5 years. And then you actually don't even own the book of business. You're signed up as a license only agent. So like if FMOs are calling you, offering you these huge lump sums of money to move this stuff over, be wary of that. We've worked with several people that were always like, yeah, you can try it. I think you'll be back. And here's the thing that sucks. They do come back. We look at the contract and we say, if you move back to us, you lose everything. You don't own your book of business anymore. So just be like leery. Like, yeah, it happens on the FMO side too. If your FMO is offering you money and leads over service, ask some questions. Ask some questions.
Right.
Awesome. Appreciate everybody today hanging out with us. Again, we do continue the Medicare Cafe into AEP, but we keep them to 10, 15 minutes tops. Okay, we keep them nice and easy. We try to focus more on like updates and what we're seeing in the industry, what numbers we can report back from our carriers and things like that. More so updates than training. And apparently this year we're going to do charades because I like that idea and I want to do that. Awesome.
I'm going to get that started right now.
Oh my God, yes, please. Can you act out premium? Honestly, I get that. And I would take that as like face amount. Benefit amount. Okay, yeah.
I give you policy, you give me money.
Yes. Done.
Premium.
Nailed it. Interpretive dance.
I'm so good at this.
So until next time, guys, have fun.
Make money.
And give impeccable service. Thanks, guys.